My first experience of sexual violence was as a teenager in school uniform after school in broad daylight taking a public tram, as you see here. A middle-aged man suddenly groped me. I instinctively pushed him away. I was shocked. I was disturbed, but I was even more disturbed that all the passengers around me didn't do or say anything. In my university years, being stalked or followed was not an unusual experience. So now as a mom, it is my duty to prepare my teenage daughters for this reality. It is also my responsibility to raise my son with fundamental feminist values and to respect the importance of sexual consent. Now, I'm not alone here. I'm sure many women would relate to this. And in fact, every third woman in the world, or every 1 in 3 women around you, for example, on average, has or will experience some form of physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. And only 7% of these women will actually report it to a formal source. Now, these are average numbers. The figures in many countries are higher. And in many developing member countries, there is a culture of impunity which perpetuates sexual violence for various reasons, due to weak legal systems, lack of support services, and essentially prevailing patriarchy. Now, I know this is probably an uncomfortable topic for many people to talk about, but we actually have a responsibility to challenge the entrenched gender norms which actually fuel this power imbalance and perpetuate the perception of male sexual entitlement over female bodily autonomy and safety. Now, the Asian Development Bank is strongly committed to addressing and accelerating gender equality in the Asia-Pacific region. But we know that gender equality is not possible as long as women experience these levels of sexual violence. So what we do is we proactively look at ways in our project design to tackle this systemic problem. So I will share with you a few examples. So firstly, in the Philippines Malolos-Clark Railway Project, a zero tolerance to gender sexual violence, sexual harassment policy program is being developed, whereby commuters and railway staff will have a mechanism to address sexual harassment in their daily work. And this means that staff are being trained to better look out for sexual harassment, that there will be a community awareness campaign, and that in stations there will be physical gender-based violence help desks and safe spaces to go to. Similarly, in Pakistan bus rapid transit projects, we are creating segregated spaces for women on these BRTs, and we are training staff to look out for these incidents of sexual harassment. In the Pacific island of Tonga, as you see here, we are supporting government training across the board on a new sexual harassment policy that is applicable to all government officers. In the private sector space, we also often work with our clients to help them develop their own policies around sexual harassment and to implement them to create a more gender-inclusive work environment. As my colleague Ramola alluded to earlier, last year, ADB worked with the Tbilisi City Hall to develop new guidelines around gender-responsive green spaces and recreation. So now, parks will be developed with women and girls' safety in mind. This includes things such as ensuring that there's clear lines of sight or visibility, that there's good lighting on pathways and toilets, that there's CCTV cameras, and avoiding hidden spaces in the park infrastructure. We are also working with judicial systems to strengthen their capacity to respond to cases of gender-based violence, previously in Pakistan and currently in Timor-Leste and Fiji. This means that a woman who has been violated will be able to pursue justice in courts where judges have been trained in gender sensitivity, there are less discriminatory court procedures. And actually, this led to the establishment of the first dedicated gender-based violence court in Punjab, Pakistan. Combined with this is also extensive community awareness using culturally appropriate methods to basically challenge the narrative that gender-based violence is acceptable. So I'm sure you agree with me that these are great project examples, but they're not enough. We actually need to shift to a mindset where addressing sexual violence becomes front and center of all our project design. And this is really important because development projects can inadvertently create greater risk of sexual violence for girls and women in communities due to influx of workers, for example. So it's really important that we have mechanisms in place that these projects are designed to be able to address risks of sexual violence. So ADB has developed a good practice note on addressing risks of sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment in projects with civil works. And we will be working with government partners, our own staff, and contractors to train them to build these mechanisms into project design in line with good practice. It's also essential that we have mechanisms and systems in place that any survivor of sexual violence as a result of one of our projects can confidentially report this plight, access the support services that they need, and essentially be treated with dignity and respect. But at the end of the day, this is a social phenomenon, and we're not going to see real change unless we all take responsibility. So we want to see a future where our sisters, our daughters, our mothers are able to go out into the world confidently and live a life without fear of sexual violence. So we all have a role to play in this future. Talk to your children, talk to your friends about the importance of consent, role model, good public behavior, and respectful behavior, and most importantly, I urge you to open your eyes, look around, observe, and speak out against sexual violence. Don't be that person that looks away. Thank you.